Hi everyone, it's Elizabeth here. So today I wanted to do this video in regards to how we are here for one reason and one reason only. We are really here on this planet to learn how to give and receive love. And we are also here on this planet to learn how to forgive in love through forgiving ourselves, but also forgiving others. You know, it sounds like a hippy-dippy thing when you talk about love is the most powerful thing and love is the root of everything, but it really is. One of my friends who I've learned a lot about, spirituality and God and things like that, she has definitely a unique perspective on life because she's been through a lot and understands a lot of spiritual theories and practices, is that the one time we had a conversation and she said, Elizabeth, she's like, planet Earth is a ghetto, and we are here to learn how to give and receive love and to learn how to forgive. And she said, sometimes it doesn't matter what, I guess, spiritual lineage or thought that you have, whether you're Christian or you identify as like a modern day Viking or whatever. It's all about learning how to love one another, give and receive love, and how to forgive, especially after heartache, heartbreaks, and endings of relationships. And it's funny because even like in politics, you see how love trumps hate and things like that, and that's very true. And love is the most powerful energy on the planet. Einstein talked about that, and I've linked the blog link below that you can see and read my article or my blog and my YouTube video in regards to questioning, is love the most powerful energy on the planet? And so in various forms of spirituality, like when I studied yoga in India in 2007, my guru talked about how we are here on this planet to learn how to grow and evolve our souls. And really, if you look at the root of growing and evolving, it's not necessarily through our professional relationships or what we do or what we contribute to the planet. A lot of that is, that does have merit, what we do professionally and how we affect the world, but a lot of it involves around growing our soul and ourselves through giving and receiving love, but also shedding the layers of our ego and overcoming a lot of that egoic mind that thinks that we're inferior or superior to other people. And when you look at Christ or Jesus, he basically is an incarnation of God's soul, and he walked this planet with unconditional love for people, and he died unconditionally for ourselves. So things like sacrifice to gods wouldn't have to happen anymore because he sacrificed himself. And so if we look at the world of love, I'm just going to go ahead and define it here. I have notes on my computer. Let's see. In various cases, love is defined by a relationship that offers care instead of cruelty, friendship instead of unpredictability, or affection instead of deprivation. Love becomes defined by experiences that release certain chemicals in your body, such as oxytocin. I can never say that. It's the cuddling and caring hormone. Dopamine, which is the pleasure chemical. Vasopressin, which is for attraction, or following puberty, the estrogen and testosterone of lust. So a lot of these simple acts of kindness, whether it's someone who offers us attention or affection, or they just kind of understand one another because we're a little bit different, those things have powerful effects on our psychology and can really help us grow and evolve. Especially in times of isolation or being alone or being a misfit, which is very, very common today, especially with the birth of technology. Little simple things like that, of acts of kindness, which are acts of love, are very life transforming and life saving for a lot of people, especially if they're at the point where, they want to kick the bucket and things like that. So, planet Earth is really difficult because it is an incarnation of polarity, and when you have an incarnation of polarity, you have the light and the dark side. These two energies exist. I do think things like the Bible talk about it very well. I believe in my life experience, God is very real. And if you believe in God, Satan is very real. Darkness can be masked as light. That's 2 Corinthians 11:14. That verse is very, very powerful because it explains how there are a lot of wolves that are masked in sheep's clothing. And so you have to be very aware of how you navigate this life. And so when you look at love, we always think of love from a positive perspective, the acts of kindness, the affection and attention we give one another, the holding the door for the old lady at the grocery store, those things like that. But love can be very blinding, and love can be very dark as well. Think about this for a second. When you ultimately love somebody with all of your heart and you never want to see them with anybody else, you see all these type of things where husbands and wives are murdering each other, or the spouse or the boyfriend or the girlfriend. Usually you see the men murdering the woman. A lot of those are rooted to the dark side of love, which is either, they're jealous, they're possessive, they're control freaks, or they just don't want to see them ever move on to anybody else. And so what do? They take their life thinking, that it's it's coming from a place of love, and it's coming from a dark place of love, the shadow side of love. So those things on this planet are very difficult to navigate, because when your spouse or somebody cheats on you or leaves you for someone else or has an affair, it can really send you into a tailspin of negativity. And the human part of you, the egotistical part of you, wants to have either revenge, or you see this where it's like somebody gets back on their feet, whether through weight loss or a guy getting their job. You see somebody like a Ted Bundy who wanted to get back with his ex. It's like, well, look at me now. I really succeeded from kind of being a bum and things like that. And so those type of things, that getting back or that showing off is very egotistical, when in reality you have to sit there and forgive the person and realize the life purpose lesson and the soul growth of why this happened. In various forms of spirituality, they talk about how you choose your parents for a reason, and that your soul is signing up for these things before it incarnates. So it's signing up for things like heartbreak, or signing up to have a great romance and a love, whether that's with one person or with many people. Your soul has contracts that it's supposed to meet certain people at certain stages of your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. Right now, in this kind of paradigm shift, we're seeing a lot of people signing up for contracts that are very seasonal and for a reason. The older generation definitely had things that are for a lifetime, but there's also a lot of other factors that I believe have been socially engineered to kind of affect us in the world of love. So things are definitely not the same as today as they used to be. But your soul is signing up for basically its own type of movie. And when you go through the movie, wherever your path or your soul mission is in life, you can take the fast route or you take the scenic route. You have the free will on this planet. But whatever you experience, you have to learn how to be able to give and receive love, and also forgive people who hurt you, but also forgive yourself, because at some point you are going to hurt or reject someone, and that that guilt and shame can carry on with us for a very long time. People who do not receive love as a child, especially if they had cold or distant parents, or parents who left or abandoned them, they have a very hard time in their adult life learning how to receive love. They're very much in oneness on this path of growth as an independent person. And so they have to learn how to really open up and let people into their lives, especially ones who want to help them in their path of life. So if this planet Earth is kind of a ghetto for our soul, we're learning a lot of lessons. It is a fallen world, so we are going to go through a lot of hardships and trials and tribulations and things like that. A lot of learning about love is learning how to recognize the oneness that's not only within ourselves, but with God and with nature. Um, Loving animals is very important. I've met people, especially, I've met Christians who believe that animals don't have souls because the Bible doesn't say it, and I highly disagree with that. I cannot wrap my mind around being separated from nature and from animals and from the universe or God, because it all, we all have these veins. A tree and a leaf has veins in it. Humans have veins. The universe, you look at the Milky Way, it all has these veins in between the star system. It looks, the universe looks a lot like our nervous system. So there is this oneness. And we have to learn not only to love in our lives, but to love the environment that's around us. A lot of decadence brings destruction, and it also flares and boosts the ego, especially because you want to be seen for all your riches and romances. And a lot of those people who are in the upper echelon, they don't give a fuck about the environment. How many of them are going out and cleaning the streets or doing humanitarian work? Some of them are, and that's great because they can use their finances and resources in a positive way, through a loving way, like saving the planet and things like that. At least somebody, famous like a Leonardo DiCaprio has brought some awareness to things that are changing, in the weather pattern. I just believe in a balanced approach. Like, the weather today is a lot different than what it was 15, 20 years ago. So there is some form of shift that's changing. I think humans and our carbon footprint and, the growth of the population of the world is definitely speeding this up. But we have to learn how to love the environment. And a lot of people are bringing a lot of genius ideas through the use of recycling, or now we're seeing a lot of plastic cups and coffee cups and things like that are actually made through compostable materials. So all these things are changes of forms of progress, where it's like, all right, these mass machines can quickly compost this type of material. So these genius ideas are acts of love to actually care about our home. Mother Earth is our home. So it might sound, I'm not one of those like galactic people, but I am very, I don't know, maybe I'm like a Braveheart type of person, where it's like I'm very much connected to the earth and the planet, but also to something like Christianity as well, in the sense that a lot of times people who are so biblical are so disconnected from nature, and I just don't believe in harming. Even if you eat animals, it's like, all right, let's stop this inhumane acts of, using animals for certain things, for our own profit, or, animals that are going to go into the chicken farm. Like, can they live at least a little bit better of a healthier life, rather than a negative one of being stuffed in these little like 1-foot boxes and things like that. So recognizing the oneness in God, I have some notes here I'm going to have to kind of like flip around and look at. So I kind of briefly glanced at a blog link, and kind of the opening line was like this: the one and only reason we are here on this planet, we are here to learn how to love ourselves, each other, the planet itself, and all living beings. Every day we are put in situations that give us the opportunity to do that. And I do think, that's kind of missing God in the blog link. But I do think there is this vast interconnection that we need to learn how, I've said it 19 times, we need to learn how to share love, to give love. Relationships, especially romantic relationships, is not about what you can receive from the other person, but it's about what you can give. And that comes from a very high level of maturity and wisdom, because a lot of times people just want to take, and it's like, oh, well, this guy earns a really great wage, so I can have this type of lifestyle with him. The balance of giving and receiving in any sort of relationship is very necessary for it to be healthy, because when one person gives and the other person takes, that's where things start to come imbalanced. And you see this a lot with people who are givers. They usually attend somebody who is a taker, and eventually the giver is going to become exhausted, and the taker, the giver is going to stop giving, and the taker is going to be like, what's going on? Or they're going to be completely clueless as to how they don't give as well. So if we are here for one reason and one reason only, it's to start to shed our ego, to learn how to love and forgive people. It's like, I've been fired from a job before, and there's a lot of like bitterness and anger that kind of comes from that moment. But when you can sit in a place of solitude and quiet and start to forgive them, you know that you are moving on to a better and a higher place. It's all about working through the situations, analyzing it logically, and then integrating the spiritual theories into that. So, some things are blessings in disguise. Like when I got fired from the government, it was more of like a forced resignation. So, it was like I was so angry and upset, but honestly, it set me up to a path of a whole better life, that it was a blessing in disguise. And I sent light and love to that government agency, because they were so corrupt that, my soul wasn't meant to be there. I didn't sign up for bureaucracy in this life. And, that organization had to grow and evolve in their own way. So these are some thoughts that I have about love. I have some blog links below, and one that kind of pertains to this specific topic, and then some things that talk about Einstein as well. Love is the most powerful energy on the planet, and that is the whole point of God and Jesus and everything. And so as we navigate this hard life, you have to learn how to not let your moral compass and your boundaries be taken advantage of, but learn how to have a boundary to where it's like, all right, this person is trying to take advantage of my kindness. You have to learn how to know when to walk away, or when to put up that border, or have that discussion that might not be easy, but that's in itself is loving and respecting yourself. So, loving and giving love isn't just, like a bleeding heart. Like, people get exhausted from just like pouring themselves out, and it's navigating through life wise like a serpent, but innocent like a dove, and just realizing the wolves in sheep's clothing. And, those people, if they want to continue on that path, you just have to bless them, forgive them for the mental anguish that they caused in your life, and just ask God to work through them, to bring them to the light out of the path of darkness. All right, thank you so much for listening. If you have any thoughts on love, feel free. It's a fun topic, I guess, to talk about, since we all want to be loved. I think that's common. It's natural. And a lot of us want to be in love as well. So, thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. If you'd like, you can subscribe to this channel. Help me build it. And if you like my voice, you can always support me on Patreon, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.